what I want to start with, I want to talk about what's really happening in the fintech industry and the banking industry, right? In the fintech industry, fintechs are really racing to become the network operator model and driving the network effect platform. At the same time, consumers are heavily relying on this fintechs and expecting embedded finance, embedded banking experiences, such as payments, where there is a PayPal or Zelle or anything else, or the buy now, pay later type of solution from Affirm and others. And as you can see around these business models, APIs are the foundational and the key element of this. Again, the key example in this industry is the Plaid or Zelle, and pretty much dominating the market in their respective space. Now, some of these fintechs are really starting on a niche, smaller problem, but they are really growing. They're really growing faster than ever and trying to even become and seeking the banking licenses, such as SoFi just received recently. Now, at the same time, what's really happening in the banking industry, right? As Gibson mentioned in the earlier keynotes, really open banking started in UK, right? But and PSD2 in Europe, but they are now spreading across the world, which is driving the new business model for the banks, right? And this age of the data economy and openness with banking as a services model. Again, APIs are again the foundational to these key elements of this, right? As you can see on the bottom right chart, this is a research by InnoPay. While most banks, as you can see, have some initiatives in hands when it comes to the open banking, open developer portal, open APIs, etc. But very few, about 11 or so, actually really gone into the areas which is top right quadrant, which is extensive capability and comprehensive developer experience. What it shows, there's still a lot of opportunity in the market for many other banks and many other players to actually help these banks. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to talk through the 5 key business area that matters to me, what matters to the many product and business leaders when it comes to the API management and why API management is important for these leaders. First and the foremost, right? The business agility, right? I would say this is the #1 item in mind for any business leaders or the technology leaders, especially since the COVID-19 started. Some of the research done by the McKinsey earlier last year, or sometime last year, since the start of COVID-19 in this age, it really has accelerated the technology and the product and business transformation. What we would have expected otherwise in 6 to 7 years is being done in a matter of months. And businesses needed to rush from physical or some kind of hybrid experiences to fully digital experiences. And they need to plan for unexpected growth. I'll give an example. In our Zelle payment network, we experienced tremendous growth in 2020, last year, about 60% or over 60% in 2020. And even this year, it's above 50% of growth expected in terms of payments or the amount of money moved. Now, when it comes to API management must be able to help to support the scale or ever-changing business needs, or it be really efficient to even try and launch new ideas in this fully digital economy. The next is the developer portal, right? And I would like to talk more than developer portal, is really the developer experience, right? Now, we had been talking about developer portal for years. With most API management platform builds or most large tech when it started, we've been talking about developer portal for a while. It used to be more like a high quality documentation area where the customer can get their documentation over PDFs or handholding. But now it's really driving the differentiated experiences that really reflects your brand and nurture and create this developer community that ultimately drives your own ecosystem. I believe this is the #1 area. There is still a lot of opportunity for most API management platform. What I have seen is easy to get started initially from out of the box or some vendor solution or some commercial solutions. But when you really want to scale and drive your differentiated experiences, most organizations today, I have seen it end up really creating something custom and ground up. Now, ultimately, what most business leader needs is they want to drive the business, right? They want to make more money out of their intellectual property, whether it's the data or whether it's algorithms or whether it's a processes or so forth. And there are many ways to do it, right? There are really many ways to do it. Most importantly, I would say there are most importantly, there are two kind of strategies that companies can employ, right? On the one side, it's really the free or the freemium to get started with, low barrier to entry, or the low volume that really really don't care about the cost or the revenue, right? Or companies are employing APIs as a new channel to sell their existing products and services, or serve the customers, which is more indirect way of generating more money. On the other hand, a really direct way of driving more revenue. In one end, easier way is the user-based, and which is more prominent, or I would say more than prominent, more desired model is a subscription-based. But before we figure out a per user cost or per company subscription model, we must be able to really model your cost and margin using API volume or the cost, etc. And there, lastly but not the least, is the kind of easier and simplest way for the API provider side, which is pay-per-go, right, or pay-per-use or pay-per-transaction based. But in this area, it's really easy for or desired from a provider perspective. Sometimes it's really unpredictable from API consumer perspective, right? Unless their model also supports transaction-based revenue. Now, considering this, again, these are the only four simplest way of looking into four. There are a bunch of underlying different permutations as well, but I would say there are no one size that really fits all, right? What it means to the API management platform, you need to be able to support different options. And when you pick or if you're a consumer side of the API platform, you must evaluate your platform based upon your desired business model and the strategy. Next, what it drives is ultimately for the business leaders to be able to actually have the business intelligence. Now, APIs are really the common gateway across their channels, right? And across their consumers. So APIs are really just a rich source of information across your for your business, right? What it means that as a business leader, and based upon your roles in the business leaders, you do need different data needs or different reporting needs, and you want to be able to see what's happening in real time, really happening in real time. And ultimately, most businesses have some sort of BI, business intelligence platform, right? What it means, your volume, your usage, and other patterns, what's really happening on your API side, you want to be able to feed those into your existing business intelligence solutions, such as Tableau. That comes the last but not the least is the governance, right? I don't want to treat this like a heavy process, right? It's rather really make it as lean as possible and as agile as possible. There were some great notes earlier, which is from Eric in his keynotes about, which was very much focused around the governance. But I do want to mention that why it's really important for the API management, because I would say APIs are the most durable components of your solution sets. Your channels, your user interface are constantly changing, but APIs are usually long living. Sure, there will be revisions of those, but they're usually still longer living than any other user interfaces. What it means that we better manage it as a product, and API management also allow to governance around entire life cycle of this life cycle of the APIs from design to delivery. And specifically in the areas of the DevOps, especially continuous integration, continuous delivery, change management, as well as really important for security perspective. I'm going to talk about just a little bit in the first area is the customer needs, right? Now, why API management? For understanding customer needs and requirements. Why? Because if you have a developer portal, that's really the rich source of information, what customer needs, right? That's a place you can also get your customer feedback. That's the area you can learn the feedback, how APIs are working. as well as the intelligence platform we talk about, the analytics we talk about, can really monitor your customer behavior that really drives your roadmap. Next, come to the design. Now, some of the API platform, as you see, and you can really create the API specification right in through your API management platform, such as MuleSoft and others. And that is actually your gateway to really partner with your initial customer or pilot customer to quickly POC by building these API specs and hands-on-hands with them, create a mock service out of the box automatically, and really test and demo and POC that before you really invest in heavily in your development and really ready for the market launch. And that comes to the development, right? In development, most organizations have different, and many organizations have different technology. Even within the organization, you have different technology, right? So your API management, when you choose, make sure it supports this technology. It supports your CI/CD tools that you're using, whether you're deploying in hosted or the cloud environment. And lastly, but not the least, is operating, right? Once the APIs are live, you better know what's happening with your API in production, and you know if it's outage of errors before even your customer knows. So making sure you're monitoring your SLAs, your KPIs are nicely managed. And at the same time, it supports your maintenance, updates, et cetera, right? And lastly, not the least, in the earlier conversation, even Gangadhar also mentioned is about decommissioning, decommissioning as well, right? When you're out of the lifespan, certain APIs, and when it's done, you want to be able to monitor, making sure there is no more usage, and be able to manage your customer to take off those older version and move to the new version, and be able to monitor that and help with the decommissioning process. With that, it really covers all the 5 areas, and re-emphasizing, right, is the business agility, is the developer experience, and growing their ecosystem, your monetization strategy, your business intelligence, and the governance. Again, I wouldn't say these are the only 5 areas that matters to the most business leader, but I would say these are the most prominent 5 areas. And whether you're building your API management in-house or you're leveraging some customer solutions outside of most vendor solution, you make sure you evaluate all those areas that matters to your business. And that's pretty much what I wanted to cover.